Hi, everybody. This is Seth here, head of operations at QUOINE, and I am joined this afternoon by Grant Blaisdell from QUOINE Firm. We yesterday evening we listed QUOINE Firm's new token, the AMLT token, on our platform Cryptos. We can see it's currently trading very, very nicely. Currently trading against ETH and BTC. Let me start off with saying, Grant, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me, guys, and you personally, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'd like to get started by first, Grant, telling us a little bit about your background, the background of QUOINE Firm, and why you guys started moving towards blockchain for doing things like AML.
Well, first, let me preface that by blockchain was our focus from day one. Our platform, our solutions, our focus was to create regulatory technological RegTech solutions, more specifically an AML solution for the blockchain space, for two reasons. One is because blockchain itself, the largest issue in the crypto space when it comes to mass or traditional adoption has been, regulatory compliance, and more specifically AML. But also on the flip side, blockchain technology itself has the capability to revolutionize compliance overall, as generally in the AML system, in the traditional system, it's practically ineffective at all and absolutely inefficient. But my personal background originally comes out of more of the California startup ecosystem. I actually started out more in around digital media and digital distribution type tech. But the DNA of the team really sits in the AML and the financial space. So for example, our CEO and co-founder Pavel Kuskowski used to run global AML operations for Royal Bank of Scotland, a few other major financial institutions. I mentioned to you before, on our board we have the global head of regulatory and market strategy at Citibank. So not only are genetics, let's say, of the company focused in that direction from day one, but that's been our focus in the blockchain space, as bringing in that sort of type of experience set and knowing how to create solutions that fit to the unique characteristics and behaviors of crypto, but are within, let's say, the framework that is understandable and acceptable by the traditional and mass ecosystem. So our platform, for example, is generally recognized as being built on, a highest global banking standard, so that the financial industry can approach it. Compliance officers, even from that industry, can approach it and understand it the way they might understand it before, and then understand that blockchain can take them even deeper when it comes to what you can pull out accuracy and efficiency for, which is better for everybody overall.
So talk to us about some of the problems that the ecosystem is attempting to solve using AMLT token at the center of it.
Well, we're generally recognized as if not the global leader when it comes to RegTech for blockchain, and most notably through the QUOINE Firm AML and KYC platform. And this platform's been in the market for almost a year and a half. Clients and partners on it, users range anyone from major crypto entities like Dash and RSK, to the flip side to financial institutions and banks. And as of the past year, ICOs has been a really big booster, big booster for us when it comes to that. But one of the things that's unique about our platform is we're kind of this next generation of how the financial system hopefully will look like, as we're not stuck in a data silo. So for over a year, we've been allowing our partners and clients to share data with us. And if it's legitimate after we go through it, and we'll implement it, and we'll put a third-party source in our report so you can see where certain of these risk indicators and flags are coming from, if they're coming from a partner or client. And that's the use case that AMLT was built on. So it's attacking multiple fundamental issues in the financial system and the crypto system as well. One is that transparency. Well, back to the data silos. The entities that are determining the risk profile of everyone in the financial system are not taking into consideration the best data source, which are market participants themselves and their voice. So what we've done is built a mechanism using the token to where the crypto market, or whoever who's interacting in the crypto space, because this could be traditional financial institutions, we work with them. So they can provide us data if it's legit, and we implement in our distribution, we reward them with our token, which then they can use on our platform. And on day one of release of our platform, if you had AMLT, you could go on our platform, pay with AMLT for our services with a discount. Okay. So stage one functional.
So before we get into where, your roadmaps, let's kind of break this down for people who maybe are not necessarily really familiar with AML. I myself come from banking, so I think I understand a lot of it, but let's say you're talking to my mother, and so when someone onboards the QUOINE platform and starts participating and being able to get data about blockchain addresses, what exactly is it that they're doing?
Well, I think ICOs are great. I like using this use case. It's also a hot topic that people relate to, I think, a little bit better. So what's happening in the ICO space is twofold. So, and they're starting to understand this at a higher rate, which is great, because I was scared for a lot of them in the beginning. That, you have to, at this point, you have to address these. You are pulling in funds, crypto funds from all over the world. Right? You're collecting though. You need to understand what is the source of those funds and what is the potential risk associated with those funds.
Right.
People kind of get stuck in the KYC bubble where it's like picture with ID, and that's not real KYC anyways. I've seen a lot of these ICOs doing, but that's, just kind of under the umbrella of what you have to do.
Mm-hmm. And
so AML is a little bit more tricky. There's a lot of KYC providers. It's more straightforward. AML deals more with, how we're approaching it, which is, the analysis of it, applying algorithms and risk scenarios, right? So what's happening with the ICOs, for example, is they provide us contributor wallets. We run an analysis on it. Our platform works in real time. So if a client or ICO wants to do it, they can just adopt our API and they can run them in real time, query it, and get our reports back. These reports show them what's the risk associated around these wallets. And depending on what it said, they can choose whether they should accept or send back those funds, right? Then, and through our reports, they also have documentation that they did these proper checks, et cetera, according to this standard. So from a regulatory end, they're protecting themselves. But the second, the double-edged sword of all of this is, we have a bunch of use cases of clients like this. Guys raise 20-something, million in a token sale, and they come to us and they say, hey, we can't get a bank account. We can't do anything with these funds.
Right.
Because anyone in the tradition, you're from banking, you know this, you guys aren't going to touch anything, especially crypto related, if you wouldn't be able to run really deep, proper source of funds and AML checks and understand what's the risk associated.
Right.
So we work, with both ends of the industry when it comes to whether it's an ICO or a exchange like you guys. And we also work with, the traditional financial industry and act as what I call that bridge. We're this connecting bridge between the crypto economy and the traditional mass market.
That's terrific. So you're actually legitimizing, I guess, one of the key things that maybe I'll just summarize what the platform might do is you're adding in the metric of source of funds, which is already done in the fiat world. You're adding in that metric and risk measurements in the crypto world as well. And once the entity that's receiving those funds, and it could be an exchange like QUOINE, or it could be an ICO project, then gives them the right level of credibility with their other stakeholders, for instance, their banks, and would allow them to do banking. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, and more to it, that opens up the entire market up, right? In a whole different sense when we're talking about mass adoption. But not only that, where, remember when I talked about the inefficiency of the traditional one, that's under 2% effectiveness. If you have the crypto or public blockchain type of ecosystem with our platform layer on top, you're taking that into the 90 percentiles of effectiveness. And on top of that, it's an automated process. So you're not having, you don't have the room for these mistakes that people make, whether intentionally, unintentionally, from these manual processes. Now you have an automated solution that's running it through algorithms, risk scenarios. The data you need pops out right away on the other end. 6 to 8 seconds average with our platform.
So I want to repeat that, 6 to 8 seconds. So I'm an ICO. I receive funds in from a contributor. I send it to the QUOINE platform, QUOINE platform, and within 6 to 8 seconds, I get the risk rating on those sorts of funds.
Yep.
This is fantastic. So have you seen, tell me about the network effect that's in play here by connecting additional people in different entities into the ecosystem. How does that improve the accuracy and the power of the data that gets returned?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I think this is sometimes, you get what I'm talking about because you also understand the space a little bit better than the average person. But imagine if the entire financial system was able to share data transparently with trust to, a platform that will go through it. If it's legitimate, they will implement it. And not only that, reward you with something that you can use for then something you need. So, we're dealing with a select list of our clients and partners right now to really try to perfect this model for how the legitimate, transparent crypto economy is going to work and look, and how it's going to share data and how it's going to make it more effective and transparent. Because, some people, it's gotten a lot better over the past year, the maturity towards this, but some people are still kind of hesitant towards things like this. But then you have a hack. Then you have these ransomware aspects. And where are you going to, where's the repository to prevent those same actors from, victimizing others, whatever it may be, right? Or the use case of, some guy coming on an exchange that's a client of ours using a fake ID. Well, he's committing fraud. People are committing illegal actions. And, it's not to, I want people to understand that this is something that is allowing the market to grow, and it's allowing to become what it should be.
Right.
And we're not here to enforce anything. We're here to provide data.
Right. So it sounds like a key part of the ecosystem is obviously the financial institutions, the offline financial institutions like banks, the cryptocurrency exchanges, and government regulators. And so where are you in terms of engagement with those stakeholders and bringing them into the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I can't, the banks are people don't really know what's going on under the waves in a lot of this stuff. So there's banks around the world that are right now actively working with crypto entities and accepting them, and including ICOs. So two of these jurisdictions where we work directly with these banks, we deal with the regulators, etc. Japan and Gibraltar are two great ones. Switzerland's also pretty good, but Japan and Gibraltar have been really great. So if you go to Gibraltar, for example, and you talk to any sort of crypto lawyers, etc., we actually have probably the best one on our board advisory as well. If you go there and say, hey, I just did a token sale, they'll introduce you. They'll either tell you first to go to us and get the source of funds done, or they'll introduce you to the bank, who will then point you towards us. So, and those are jurisdictions where the regulators are approaching it very progressively. So, for example, in Japan, we're working with the biggest bank in Japan on allowing them to integrate the crypto economy in their internal operations, as well as, potentially servicing it. So these things are happening. And, when it comes to regulators, once again, I'm not the regulatory compliance specialist, of the company. We have top tier people for that. But,
But go ahead.
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is, people need to understand that regulators aren't also there to really understand tech. And, I feel that it's a matter of us, people like us, solutions like us, dealing with the bank, dealing with an entity on that level, then that entity and that level with us working with the regulator, and then putting that standard down. At the end of the day, our platform, the goal of it is to become the global standard for AML for blockchain.
Right. And, there's all sorts of initiatives going on around in the blockchain world about helping to bring mainstream finance into the crypto, right? Bring mainstream people into the crypto world. In some ways, as I think about QUOINE, you're bringing the best practices around understanding source of funds to the crypto world. And by doing so, you're creating legitimacy and accountability for people that join the network and gives them that gateway. For example, some of the projects that maybe have adopted the QUOINE platform, are they then able to, does that facilitate them being able to open up their own bank account?
Yes, yeah. And that's one of the use cases I brought up with the ICO. And from day one, before we ever existed, that was a problem in the industry.
Right.
It's still a problem in the industry with big, and it's interesting. You got multi-million dollar entities who are fighting these battles still.
Sure.
So, and you guys are an exchange, and one reason that we're close with you guys like this is because we saw how you're regulated. We saw how seriously you take these things. And our whole thing is about, creating the standards, let the industry create these standards. And we feel that we're creating the high standards.
That's right. I believe in sustainability. And so by getting ahead of the curve, bringing in auditors, bringing in these risk management tools and being able to effectively do AML and KYC, we're actually setting ourselves up for the long term. And so this is why we started engaging with you. By the way, I would just say to the audience, we're such a big believer in AMLT and QUOINE that we're actually evaluating the platform ourselves. So that's where we are. So,
I appreciate you. And I was going to say that when you asked about AMLT, the network, I'm like, well, you guys are that. You're the perfect example of that. So,
Graham, maybe you can, because ultimately, people want to know about value. So what is sort of the market, the token economy for AMLT, and how do AMLT token holders benefit as the ecosystem evolves?
Yeah, well, first off, we've always, once again, held the highest compliance regulatory standard, and it also comes with how we communicate. So I'm never going to be up here and I'm going to be talking about any speculative aspects around AMLT. It's just not the purpose, not how we talk about it. But the value of AMLT comes, in multiple spectrums. I feel we're one of the few projects, token type projects, AMLT is, that, when it's released, the use case has already been used on a product that's viable and used with users who need this sort of, let's say, solution. It provides incentives for them to use them. So right now you can go on QUOINE platform, use AMLT, and buy our reports at a discounted price. Right. Network member mechanism supposed to come out in about 2 months. Like I said, we're working with some select partners and clients on figuring out the best model that works for them, etc. So when that comes in, that creates an entire global incentivized network of a crypto economy to provide data, be open and transparent, and receive benefits for doing so. I feel it's a natural churning engine in that sense. We're very confident about what we've done, and especially about what we're going to be doing this year. So, when you say, you guys are evaluating it, that already proves to me or to the listeners, let's say in a certain sense, the validity of its existence, which, right. I deal with countless ICOs and, sometimes it's like I'm taking a square peg and I'm trying to shove it in a circle, right? Yep. Circular hole. And like I said, this is a use case we've been using anyways. And actually, a token allows us to do it in a way that systems like this have never been done before. Data sharing is not that new of a concept in the digital internet world, right? But to do so in such a way, let's say with trust, with transparency, in a platform and an ecosystem like this, it's an extremely unique thing. So we think that this is, when people say utility tokens, this is what should be defined as.
Right. You touched on it briefly there, but can you tell the audience here about the next major milestones in the development of the platform?
Yeah. The biggest one is launching the network member mechanism. So these are entities that hold X amount of AMLT in their wallet, and they've gone through our, let's say, more special, because during our token sale, we KYC'd every single person and ran them through our AML platform. We returned quite a bit of Ethereum.
Interesting.
When we're talking about setting the standards, we treat ourselves as the subjects as well.
You walk the walk.
Yeah, we want to walk the walk as well. So our thing with the network membership is they have to pass through another more stringent process, like any sort of entity, and have the mechanism to where they can start, openly providing us data, have the distribution model all set in the smart contract, so it's coming out. So right now, we're working with, actually, I really can't say who, but, and, of course, we look forward to working with you guys around it and understanding how to best build a network that serves exchanges more specifically properly, because exchanges are going to be one of the largest, providers of this, and it's in their benefit.
Sure. Fantastic. So what other where do you sort of envision the platform growing to, and what other sort of entities do you think will be participating and using the token in the future?
Well, we just, I'm chief marketing officer as well. And I have a really hard time being able to communicate or announce all the clients coming in right now. Our biggest problem is handling it. So, but one recently is, for example, Payment 21, which is a payment processor. Mm-hmm. Right? For example, on our platform, we have 3 types of reports right now: basic, standard, and a full enterprise report. Any token sale puts everything through a standard minimum. But these high volume people who are going to be running a report on every incoming, outgoing transaction, any transaction they're tied to in high volumes, they're going to be running these basic reports, for example. So we've set, a certain model that's able to handle, a user who wants to check, just counterparties. A normal person can even go on our platform, QUOINE right now, top up, create an account, top it up, and they can start querying counterparties. So the average person also can know who they're transacting with. So we're taking, when I say democratize finance or the financial world using this token and the platform, I mean that, let's take something that's really expensive and exclusive, which is compliance or transparency in the financial world, and let's give those tools to everybody. So it's going from, the lowest tier all the way up to the biggest bank. So that's how we look at this network. The financial incentive is there for commercial entities to use AMLT on our platform. The only logical reason for them not to in any way is because they have some sort of internal politics that isn't progressive enough yet to deal with a process like that.
So in a sense, are you potentially disrupting, AML officers working at financial institutions and or you're just complementing the work that they're doing?
I'm not, I come out of the startup ecosystem, and even I'm tired of the, kind of the disruption thing, right? Like it's the coolest thing in the world.
It's my favorite word. Don't do that to me, Grant.
Sorry. Listen, let's be realistic. If this enters, when you're talking about something that has taken what's usually been a manual process or has manual steps and employs, huge amounts of people, and turning it into this kind of automated type of thing, unless they really, I don't know. Probably a few people will lose their jobs, but it's going to
find other value-added type of work to do, right?
Listen, tech. One thing about tech is it eliminates certain inefficiencies, and if those inefficiencies are sometimes people, that's the way the world.
Yep.
The world turns. So, no one's complaining anymore about the horse buggy driver.
Right. So that kind of brings me to my next point. So we see a clear pathway to expanding the platform, more use cases for the token. What about scalability of the platform and the ability to handle the amount of queries that could easily happen where people, let's say an e-commerce merchant starts receiving payments in crypto, and how will the network be able to scale up as the usage increases?
Well, one thing when we talk about scaling up, this is something we can't do fast enough, actually. So, even in the past 5 months or something, we've gone from like 20 to like 70 people. We just opened a new division in a different city just for data science and KYC identity aspects. By the end of the year, there should be 60 people there. We're putting a lot into new infrastructure and stuff like that to provide that scalability. Because, if you're going to provide the automation that allows for that sort of thing, you got to provide the scalability. As of right now, we, with the AML platform, we don't have, and we're in the millions you can do a day. So we're pretty good about that. And you come out of the traditional space, so that's better than anything that's ever been done. So
Right.
we're pretty confident in, and like I said, we're investing quite a bit into building up that scalability, because we have the best problem in the world a young company can have, which is we have too many clients coming in right now.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about the protocols that will be supported for doing the source of funds AML reporting?
What do you mean by protocols in this?
So the blockchain protocols, which addresses are going to be supported for lookups?
Yeah. So our platform's blockchain agnostic. So that means we can technically integrate any type of blockchain. Right now, we of course service Bitcoin, Dash, who's our client and our partner. Last year, we figured out Ethereum, smart contracts, and tokens. So as of right now, we're the only automated reg tech provider for AML for Ethereum-based ICOs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been really great for us. And we're integrating minimum 2 new blockchains first half or quarter 3 of this year. One's coming out really soon, and those are Neo and RSK. We work directly with those teams on doing that. And as I'm sure Neo's going to be a big player in kind of this token sale type of space.
Right.
So, we're set up for the future very well when it comes to that. And like I said, right now, we're just trying to build the capacity and the scalability to be able to, to handle all the great stuff that we get to work around, and we get to work with, some of the best banks in the world on doing this. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff happening under the waves that, me as the chief marketing officer, I can't even talk about, which infuriates me, but it's happening. So I want everybody in the world, and, the listeners or, your community members to understand that this world is moving in that direction a lot more legitimately than a lot of people understand.
Fantastic. Well, Grant, we're looking forward to hearing more great things from QUOINE and seeing more usage of AMLT use cases. And please join us again when we have the next
anytime,
next major milestone, or maybe when we start adopting the platform, we will bring you back in.
Yeah, so, like I said, thanks for what you said earlier. I went to your guys' offices recently and met you guys, and we talked, 2 hours about compliance, which probably most people would just kill themselves after that. But we were pretty excited about it. And it's funny because I'm not a compliance guy originally, and it's very interesting to be able to create such a unique thing in a world that people would, or a segment of an industry where people think you can't talk or do things that way. And it's my whole thing is about creation, so it's really cool to watch that be created and interact with companies like you guys who share the values.
Great. Thanks again, Grant. Like I said, everyone, AMLT, it's now tradable on COINEX.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.